Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'm truly delighted to have you all here today, joining me in this special space where we explore simple yet meaningful ways to keep our minds and hearts at peace, especially as we step past the age of 60. Let me kick things off with a bold question to spark your curiosity. Have you ever felt like your mind is a big gust of wind, swirling endlessly, carrying worries, memories, or even tiny thoughts you can't seem to control? Isn't it true that sometimes we tell ourselves that age makes it harder to find stillness in our souls, or that our memory starts to blur like an old book with faded pages? If you've nodded yes, then I'm thrilled to share with you 4 easy steps to start meditating, a gentle, approachable way that doesn't need fancy tools or deep expertise, to bring calmness to your mind and sharpen your memory, even as the years stack up through countless springs. This is a journey for everyone, even if you've never thought you could sit still for a moment. Let me tell you about Helen, a dear older friend I cherish deeply. She's 63 and lives in a quiet little town in America, where tree-lined streets and morning birdsong create a gentle melody. I first met her on an autumn morning, with golden leaves drifting lazily outside her porch. She was sitting in her worn-out armchair in the living room, hands resting lightly on her lap, eyes closed, and her face radiating a serenity I rarely see in folks her age. Curious, I asked, "Helen, what are you doing?" She opened her eyes, gave me a warm smile, and said, "I'm meditating, dear. Just a few minutes. But it makes me feel alive again." Her words caught me off guard. Meditation? I used to think it was something for younger folks, people with spare time or a taste for trendy things. But Helen completely changed my mind. She shared that life hadn't always been so peaceful for her. When she hit 60, she started noticing small shifts in her mind. Some days, she'd forget where she left her reading glasses, or she'd stand in the kitchen unsure what she planned to cook. In those moments, she felt restless, as if time was slowly chipping away at the clarity she once took pride in. Then one day, she stumbled across an article about meditation, how just sitting still and breathing could help balance the mind. She decided to give it a try, not with grand expectations, but simply to do something for herself. And from then on, she carved out a few minutes each day, sitting quietly in her living room corner, letting her mind rest. She told me, "Honey, it's like giving my head a short vacation. Just a few minutes. But I feel lighter, and things I used to forget start coming back clear as day." So, what's the first step to start meditating? It's finding a quiet place and setting aside a little time, something all of us can manage. For Helen, it's her living room nook in the morning, when the first rays of sunlight slip through the curtains, bringing warmth and calm. She doesn't need a fancy room or a lavish setup, just a comfy chair where she can settle in and feel at ease. She said at first, she only tried sitting still for 5 minutes. 5 minutes, no longer than a favorite song, or the time it takes to brew a cup of tea. But those 5 minutes transformed how she greeted each day. Scientists agree with this too. They say that when we sit quietly in a peaceful spot, our brains get a chance to rest. The brain waves slow down, easing stress and sharpening our focus. I once read about a doctor in the U.S. who shared that his older patients, after starting meditation for just a few minutes daily, often felt a mental lightness, as if an invisible burden had lifted. Some even told him they began recalling little details they thought were gone forever, like the smell of their mom's baking or the lyrics to a song they loved as kids. For Helen, she doesn't use meditation music or scented candles, though she said if you enjoy those, go right ahead because everyone finds comfort in their own way. The key for her was picking a spot where she felt safe and undisturbed. Some days, it's the living room, but other times, she steps out to her backyard, where the soft breeze rustles through the trees like a gentle whisper. She told me that when she sits there, she doesn't try to think about anything. She just lets things drift by, like clouds floating across the sky. And the magic is, after a few tries, she noticed her mind wasn't as tangled as before. Worries about misplaced items or random thoughts about tomorrow melted away, replaced by a peace she hadn't expected. She laughed and said, "I never thought just sitting still could do so much. It's like a new friend in my life." But meditation isn't just about sitting quietly. The second step is learning to breathe with intention, something that sounds simple but makes a big difference. I used to think breathing was a given. We all do it every day, right? But when I sat with Helen, she showed me a special way. She said, breathe in slowly through your nose. Count from 1 to 4 in your head. Hold it for a moment. Then breathe out just as slowly, counting 1 to 4 again. She explained that focusing on her breath anchors her mind, stopping it from wandering like a lost bird. I gave it a try, and I was amazed. After just a few breaths like that, my body felt lighter, as if the tension was dissolving bit by bit. Helen admitted it wasn't easy at first. Sometimes she'd miscount or get distracted by a car passing by. But she didn't give up. She said, be patient, and it'll feel as natural as sipping cool water. Science has an explanation for this too. When we breathe deeply and evenly, our bodies produce less cortisol, that stress hormone we all want to dodge. At the same time, slow breathing stimulates the hippocampus, the brain area tied to memory and emotions. I once heard an expert in the US say that older folks who practice intentional breathing for a few weeks often felt more refreshed, and they started recalling little things they thought they'd lost, like an old friend's name or a familiar street from years ago. For Helen, she said this breathing not only calmed her, but sharpened her daily recall. She told me once, her voice full of excitement, yesterday, I remembered where I put that book I'd been searching for all week, just from sitting and breathing for a bit. What I love most about Helen isn't just how she meditates, but how she views life. She said meditation isn't about becoming someone else. It's about finding yourself again, a calmer, clearer version. She shared, every time I sit down, it's like I'm having a quiet chat with my mind. It's not always easy, but it's worth it. Listening to her, I realize we don't need to do anything grand. Just a quiet corner and a few minutes of breathing can open a new door for our minds and hearts. If you ever felt your head's too full, or you just want to try something fresh, why not start with these 2 steps? So, there you have the first 2 steps. Find a quiet place and breathe with intention. With just these 2, you've laid the groundwork for a journey to peace and better memory. But our story has more treasures ahead. Next time, I'll share another step with you, a gentle way to make meditation even deeper and more personal. Welcome back, everyone. I'm so glad you're here with me again. Last time, we explored the first 2 steps to start meditating, finding a quiet place and breathing with intention. Those steps were like opening the first door to let our minds rest and rediscover peace, especially as we move beyond 60. Today, I'd love to take you to the next step, a gentle yet powerful one, focusing on an anchor in your mind. Have you ever wondered how to stop your thoughts from galloping off like a wild horse across an endless field? I used to think sitting still was enough, but then I met Frank, a remarkable man from Ohio, who showed me that choosing an anchor can completely transform the way I meditate. Frank is 66, but if you met him in person, you'd never guess he's been retired for years. He used to be an engineer, accustomed to long, stressful work days and restless nights with a mind that wouldn't quit. I met him one summer afternoon, sitting on a wooden bench in his yard, eyes closed gently, hands clasped together. I asked, Frank, what are you up to? He opened his eyes, a kind smile spreading across his face, and said, I'm meditating, son. Not just sitting, but keeping my mind in one place. His words piqued my curiosity. One place? What did he mean? He chuckled heartily and explained that since retiring, he noticed his mind loved to go traveling, dwelling on the past, fretting about the future. But when he started meditating with an anchor, everything shifted. Frank told me that an anchor is something for your mind to hold on to, like an anchor keeping a boat from drifting out to sea. For him, it's a simple word, peace. When he meditates, he closes his eyes, breathes slowly as we talked about before, and silently repeats peace in his mind. He said, son, when I focus on that word, the jumbled thoughts start to fade, like clouds blown away by the wind. I was amazed. Just one word could do so much. He nodded and said the anchor doesn't have to be a word. It's different for everyone. Some folks pick the sound of birds chirping outside, others a feeling of breath at their nostrils. But for him, peace is like an old friend always there to reel him back when his mind starts to wander. I decided to give Frank's method a try. One morning, I sat in my room, closed my eyes, breathed steadily, and chose calm as my anchor. At first, it was tricky. My mind kept jumping to the day's to-do list, or a car horn outside would startle me. But I didn't give up. I kept repeating calm in my head, softly, without forcing it, like a whisper to myself. And then something magical happened. After a few minutes, I felt my mind slowed down, no longer racing around. Worries about forgetting this or that, or random thoughts about the past, gave way to a soothing stillness I hadn't expected. I suddenly understood why Frank called it an anchor. It truly held me steady, keeping me from being swept away in a flood of thoughts. Scientists have a take on this too. They say that when we focus on anchor, whether it's a word, a sound, or a sensation, our brains get signaled to quiet the noise. The parts tied to wandering thoughts, like the default mode network, calm down, while areas linked to attention and memory light up more. I once read about a researcher in the U.S. who said older folks meditating with an anchor often felt clearer-headed, recalling small details they'd usually forget, like where they parked their umbrella or the words to an old tune. For Frank, he said this practice not only settled him but also helped him handle daily tasks better. One time, he told me with a spark in his voice, "Yesterday, I remember a phone number of an old buddy I haven't seen in a decade just from meditating for a bit." What I love most about Frank is how he makes meditation a natural part of his life. Nothing too serious or fussy. Some days, he sits in his yard, listening to the rustling leaves and using that sound as his anchor. Other days, he's indoors, repeating peace like a soft lullaby. He said, "Son, meditation isn't about achieving something grand. It's about finding comfort in yourself." Hearing him, I realize we don't need to turn meditation into a challenge. Just a small anchor like a word or a familiar sound is enough to let our minds rest. Frank even shared that sometimes he imagined sitting by a river with peace as a little boat carry him gently along the water. Isn't that a beautiful picture? I remember one time sitting with Frank when he asked me, "Have you ever felt like your mind's a messy house?" I nodded. Who hasn't had moments like that, especially when age plays hide and seek with our memory? He smiled and said, "Meditating with an anchor is like tidying the house. Little by little, no rush, but soon it's all in order." His words warmed my heart. It's true. Every new word, every new habit is like a door opening for our minds and hearts, helping us live lighter and clearer. If you ever felt your head's too cluttered, why not try finding an anchor of your own? Maybe tranquility, the sound of the breeze, or anything that feels soothing to you. And if Frank's story today resonates with you, I'd love for you to drop a little note below. Tell me about the anchor you might pick, or how it feels when you try meditating. Our journey is still unfolding, and next time, I'll share another step with you. A simple way to make your mind not just calm, but brimming with vitality too. Hello everyone, it's wonderful to be with you again. Last time, we talked about focusing on an anchor in our minds, a simple yet effective way to keep our thoughts from drifting away in a sea of distractions. Today, I'd like to invite you to a new part of meditation, one that not only brings peace, but also nurtures gratitude and inner connection, directing your mind to positive things. Have you ever wondered if there's a way to make your soul not just calm, but also filled with joy and vitality, even when age brings its weary days? I used to think meditation was just about relaxing until I met Dorothy, a lovely woman from Colorado, who showed me that it can also be a journey of the heart. Dorothy is 68, but when you meet her, you'll feel a warm energy radiating from her smile and eyes. I met her one winter afternoon, with snow blanketing her yard, as she sat by the window with a steaming cup of tea. I asked, "Dorothy, what are you doing?" She turned to me, her eyes sparkling, and said, "I'm meditating, dear, not just sitting still, but letting my heart dwell on good things." Her words piqued my curiosity. Good things? What could that be on a cold day like this? She smiled gently and shared that since turning 60, she'd noticed life wasn't always easy. Some days she felt lonely, or her memory wasn't as quick as it once was. But then she found a way to brighten her mind, meditating with gratitude and positive thoughts. Dorothy explained that when she meditates, after finding a quiet spot, breathing steadily and anchoring her mind with a word like love, she starts thinking about things she's thankful for. Some days, it's her little grandchild's smile as they rush into her arms. Other days, It's the warm sunlight streaming through her window, or simply the scent of the tea in her hands. She said, "Honey, when I focus on those things, my heart feels lighter, like all the heaviness just melts away." I was amazed. Could just thinking about positive things really change how you feel? She nodded and said it's not about forcing herself to be happy. It's about letting her mind rest in beautiful moments, no matter how small. I decided to try Dorothy's approach. One morning, I sat in my usual spot, closed my eyes, breathed slowly, and after repeating peace a few times, I began thinking about things I'm grateful for. I pictured an afternoon chatting with my mom, her laughter ringing out as she told old stories. Then I thought of the tree in my yard, standing strong through years of rain and sun like a silent friend. At first, it felt odd. My mind kept drifting to daily worries, like an unanswered message or my to-do list. But I didn't push myself. I let those lovely images float through my head, like watching a short film of life's precious moments. And then I felt what Dorothy meant. A warmth spread through me, as if my mind wasn't just still but glowing with quiet joy. Scientists have an explanation for this too. They say that when we steer our minds toward positive thoughts during meditation, our brains release more dopamine and serotonin, chemicals that make us feel happy and at ease. Plus, focusing on gratitude activates the prefrontal cortex, tied to decision-making and long-term memory. I once read about a psychologist in the U.S. who said older folks practicing gratitude meditation often felt more optimistic, recalling old memories more vividly, like their first trip to the beach or the smell of their childhood garden. For Dorothy, she said this practice not only calmed her, but lit up her days. One time, she told me with excitement, "Yesterday, I remember my mom's cake recipe from 40 years ago, just from meditating on those family dinners." What I love most about Dorothy is how she lives with gratitude every day. She doesn't just meditate for a few minutes in the morning. She carries that spirit with her. Some days, she sits watching the snow fall, thankful for a warm home. Other days, she walks in the park, soaking in the joy of kids' laughter nearby. She said, "Honey, meditation isn't just sitting. It's opening your heart to life." Hearing her, I realized we don't need to wait for big things to feel happy. Sometimes a small moment, like sunlight through a window or birds singing outside, is enough to nourish our souls. Dorothy even shared that once, while meditating. She imagined standing in a field of flowers, each bloom a good thing in her life. Such a beautiful, warm image, don't you think? I remember sitting with Dorothy when she asked me, "Have you ever felt like life's a book where you've skipped the best pages?" I nodded. Who hasn't overlooked the treasures, especially when age blurs our recall? She smiled and said, "Meditating with gratitude is like flipping back to those pages, one by one, slowly, to see how much there still is to cherish." Her words moved me. It's true. Every new word, every new habit is like a door opening for our minds and hearts, bringing not just peace but vitality too. If you had moments that make you grateful, why not bring them into your meditation? Just sit, breathe, and let your heart revisit something beautiful from your life. And if Dorothy's story today touches you, I'd love for you to leave a little note below. Tell me what you're thankful for, or how it feels to try this kind of meditation. Our journey's got one more leg to go. And next time, I'll share the final step with you. A gentle way to close your meditation while keeping that peace and strength alive in your soul. Hello, everyone. It's so great to be with you again today. Last time, we talked about turning our minds toward positive things. A beautiful way to not only calm our souls, but fill them with joy and gratitude. Today, I'd like to invite you to the final step in our meditation journey, closing your session with gentleness and awareness. Have you ever wondered how to end a peaceful moment while holding on to that serenity throughout the day, even when life throws its challenges your way? I used to think meditation was just about sitting and then getting up, until I met Henry, a quiet man from Vermont, who taught me that how we finish meditating matters just as much as how we start. Henry is 70, but when you meet him, you'll sense a calm that flows from his every move, as if he carries a pocket of peace with him always. I met him one spring morning, sitting on the porch of his small wooden house, surrounded by chirping birds and the scent of freshly cut grass. I asked, "Henry, what were you just doing?" He looked up, his eyes kind, and said, "I just finished meditating, dear. But I don't just sit and stand. I ended gently. His words sparked my curiosity. Ended gently? What did that mean? He gave a soft chuckle and shared that as he passed 60, he noticed his mind sometimes stayed restless after meditation, as if the peace he'd found slipped away when he returned to daily life. But then he learned a way to hold on to it longer, closing his session with gentleness and awareness. Henry explained that after sitting quietly, breathing steadily, anchoring his mind with a word like happiness, and reflecting on positive things, he doesn't rush to get up. Instead, he takes a minute to feel his body, from the top of his head to the tips of his toes, like a way of thanking himself for taking time to rest. He said, "Honey, when I do that, I feel connected to my body and mind again, no longer scattered." I was amazed. Could just a minute of feeling make such a difference? He nodded and added that afterward, he often ended with a little phrase in his heart, like, "Thank you for this peace," or "Today will be a good day." It helps him carry that lightness into the day, like a silent companion. I decided to try Henry's method. One afternoon, after meditating in my usual spot, I didn't jump up like I normally would. Instead, I kept my eyes closed a bit longer, breathed slowly, and started noticing my body. I felt the gentle rise of my breath in my chest, the warmth of my hands on my lap, and my feet touching the floor. At first, it felt odd. My mind wanted to leap to the next task, like making coffee or checking my phone. But I didn't hurry. I lingered on each sensation, like catching up with an old friend. Then I whispered to myself, "Thank you for this moment." When I opened my eyes, I felt different. Not just calm, but strengthened, as if that peace had settled deep into every part of me. Scientists have a take on this too. They say that when we end meditation by tuning into our bodies and offering a positive thought, our brains reinforce a relaxed state. It boosts the parasympathetic nervous system, the part that helps us rest and recover, while strengthening the mind-body connection. I once read about a researcher in the U.S. who said older folks who closed their meditation with awareness often felt steadier all day, and their memory improved, like recalling where they left their keys or a friend's appointment. For Henry, he said this ending not only kept him peaceful, but helped him face tough days better. One time, he shared warmly, "Yesterday I had a doctor's visit, but thanks to ending my meditation this way, I wasn't as anxious. I even remembered all the doctor's advice." What I love most about Henry is how he lives with gentleness every day. He doesn't just do this in meditation. He brings it into life. Some days, he rises after meditating, steps into his garden, and takes a minute to feel the fresh air before starting his day. Other days, he lingers with his tea, eyes closed and smiling, as if savoring the peace he just felt. He said, "Honey, meditation isn't just when you sit. It's how you step into life with a lighter heart." Hearing him, I realized we don't need to rush back to the hustle. Just a minute to feel, and a small inner word can keep that peace with us. Henry even shared that once. He pictured standing under a gentle rain after meditating. Each drop a reminder of calm. Such a lovely, deep image, don't you think? I remember sitting with Henry when he asked me, "Have you ever felt the day pass without really living it?" I nodded. Who hasn't let time slip by, especially when age slows our recall? He smiled and said, "Ending meditation gently is like pausing to truly live, moment by moment, to know you're still here, still strong." His words touched me deeply. It's true. Every new word, every new habit is like a door opening for our minds and hearts, helping us not just find peace but live more fully in ourselves. If you want to hold on to that calm longer after meditating, why not try taking a minute to feel your body and offer yourself a kind thought? And if Henry's story today resonates with you, I'd love for you to drop a little note below. Tell me how you might close your meditation or how it feels to try this step. Our journey is nearly complete, and next time, I'll wrap up these 4 wonderful steps, leaving you a heartfelt message to keep nurturing your soul. Hello, everyone. It's so wonderful to see you all again. Last time, we talked about closing our meditation with gentleness and awareness, a soft step to let that peace ripple through our day. Today, I'd like to take you to another layer, a way to make meditation not just a habit, but a living part of our lives. Practicing short meditations throughout the day. Have you ever wondered if we could bring that stillness into unexpected moments, right in the middle of life's busy flow? I used to think meditation had to be a set time until I met Alice, a vibrant woman from California, who showed me it could be flexible and closer than I ever imagined. Alice is 65, but when you meet her, you'll feel a youthful spark in her laugh and the way she talks. I met her one morning at a park near her home, sitting on a bench, eyes gently closed, hands resting on her knees. I asked, "Alice, what are you doing?" She opened her eyes, beaming, and said, "I'm meditating, dear." Not for long, just a few minutes, but enough to feel refreshed. Her words intrigued me. Short meditations in the day? What was that? She laughed brightly and shared that since turning 60, she realized life doesn't always give her hours to sit still. Some days are filled with babysitting grandkids, grocery runs, or puttering in the kitchen, but she still wanted to keep her mind clear and calm. So she learned to do short meditations, little breaks in the day to recharge. Alice explained that short meditations don't need a special place or lots of time. Some days, she sits on a park bench, listening to the birds and taking a few deep breaths. Other days, she stands in her kitchen, holding a coffee mug, closing her eyes for a minute to feel the warmth spread through her palms. She said, "Honey, just a few minutes, and I feel renewed, like my mind's been dusted off." I was amazed. Could a few minutes really do that much? She nodded and said short meditations aren't a replacement for longer sessions. They're a way to weave peace into any moment. For her, they're tiny pauses to stop, breathe, and remind herself she's still alive, still present. I decided to try Alice's way. One afternoon, while waiting for water to boil in the kitchen, I closed my eyes, took 3 slow breaths, and tuned into the sound of the water starting to bubble in the kettle. I didn't try to think too hard. I just felt the moment, the sound, the warmth in the air, and my own breathing. At first, it felt strange. My mind wanted to jump to my to-do list, like calling a friend or checking emails. But I didn't force it. I let the moment wash over me, like a gentle breeze through my thoughts. When I opened my eyes, I felt different. Not just alert, but recharged, as if I'd tapped into a little burst of life midday. I understood why Alice called it recharging. It's like a quick rest to revive your mind. Scientists have a take on this too. They say short meditations during the day can instantly ease stress by slowing your heart rate and lowering cortisol, the stress hormone. They also spark the brain areas tied to attention and short-term memory, helping us process things better. I once read about a researcher in the U.S. who said older folks doing short meditations a few times a day felt more mentally nimble, recalling small details like where they left their glasses or the order of their tasks. For Alice, she said these breaks not only calmed her but sharpened her memory. One time, she shared with glee, "Yesterday, I remembered a song title from my youth just by pausing to meditate for a minute in the grocery store. It's like magic." What I love most about Alice is how she makes meditation a natural part of her day. She doesn't wait for the perfect moment or absolute quiet. Some days, she meditates on the bus, listening to the engine's soft hum and breathing evenly. Other days, she does it while waiting in line at the store, feeling her feet on the floor and quietly repeating comfort in her mind. She said, "Honey, meditation doesn't have to be grand. It's little moments to slow down and love life more." Hearing her, I realized we don't need to wait to care for our minds. Just a few minutes, anywhere, can bring back peace and energy. Alice even shared that once. She meditated briefly under a tree in the park. Picture herself as a leaf drifting gently to the ground. Such a vivid, relaxing image, don't you think? I remember sitting with Alice when she asked me, "Have you ever felt like you're just chasing the day?" I nodded. Who hasn't been swept up in a rush, especially when age makes memory sluggish? She smiled and said, "Short meditations are like little pit stops to breathe, to live, to know you've still got the strength to keep going." Her words warmed me. It's true. Every new word, every new habit is like a door opening for our minds and hearts, bringing not just peace but energy to life's flow. If you wanted to feel awake midday, why not try pausing for a few minutes, breathing and soaking the moment? And if Alice's story today touches you, I'd love for you to leave a note below. Tell me about your short meditation moment or how it feels to try this. Our journey has one final stretch, and next time, I'll wrap it all up, sharing a heartfelt message to keep nurturing your soul. Hello, everyone. We've traveled quite a journey together, and I'm so grateful you're still here with me after all we've shared. Last time, when we talked about Alice and her short meditations throughout the day, those little moments in the park or kitchen to recharge, it struck me that meditation isn't just a fixed routine. It can be a vibrant, flexible part of our lives. Today, I'd like to wrap up our series, Meditation After 60 to 4 Easy Steps for Mental Calmness and Memory Improvement, by looking back at everything we've explored, from that first step to Alice's brief pauses, and feeling how these simple practices can bring peace and strength to our minds, even past 60. This isn't just an ending. It's an invitation to keep nurturing yourself. Let's rewind to where we started, shall we? We met Helen, who showed me how to find a quiet corner in her living room and breathe with intention to clear her mind. I still recall my surprise when she said a few deep breaths helped her remember where she'd left a book or her shopping list, like her mind woke up from a long nap. Then came Frank, teaching me to anchor my thoughts with a word like peace, keeping the chaos from sweeping them away. I tried it myself, and it was amazing to feel my mind slow down, like a river calming after a gusty wind. Next, Dorothy stepped in with her gratitude, turning cold winter days into warm moments by thinking of her grandchild's smile or sunlight through her window. I learned from her that focusing on good things can light up your heart. After that, Henry showed me how to close a meditation gently, feeling my body and offering a kind thought like, "Thank you for this peace." I still feel that softness spreading when I followed his lead, as if the calm didn't just stay in that moment, but walk with me all day. And finally, Alice brought a fresh breeze with her short meditations throughout the day. I stood in my kitchen, listening to the kettle and breathing a few times, and realized even those minutes could leave me alert and alive midday. Each of them, Helen, Frank, Dorothy, Henry, and Alice, left me with a lesson. Meditation doesn't need to be complicated or perfect. It just asks us to give time, however small, to care for our minds. Together, these steps form a journey I believe we can all take. Start by finding a quiet spot, maybe a room corner, a porch, or a park bench. Then breathe deeply, letting your breath anchor you to the moment, like Helen did. Next, pick an anchor, a word, a sound, a sensation, to keep your mind from wandering, as Frank taught. After that, let your heart dwell on good things, like Dorothy with her grandchild's grin or winter sun. When you're done, take a minute to feel your body and say thanks, as Henry showed. And if the day gets busy, try a short meditation like Alice, a few minutes midstream to recharge. These don't demand a life overhaul. They just need a bit of awareness, a bit of patience. So day by day, our minds grow nurtured and clearer. I remember sitting with Alice when she asked, "Have you ever thought you could slow down, even just a little?" That question stopped me. It's true. As we age, we sometimes get caught in worries, forgetting this, falling behind on that. But through this journey, I've seen that meditation isn't just about recalling where we parked our keys or our to-do list. It's about remembering ourselves, the small joys, the beautiful moments, and the strength we sometimes overlook. Scientists agree, too. They say regular meditation boosts the hippocampus, our memory hub, while calming stress waves, bringing peace and focus. I heard an expert in the US say older folks who meditate often feel lighter and start recalling details like a summer morning scent or a song sung with friends. To me, that's the real magic, not a miracle, but proof we can open new doors in our minds, even when age seems to close them. But what I want to highlight today isn't just the benefits. It's how meditation becomes part of us. Helen once told me, meditation isn't about becoming someone else. It's about finding comfort in yourself. Frank said each time he anchored to peace, it felt like a chat with himself. Dorothy laughed and said thinking of good things made her feel life was still worth living. Henry gently shared that ending with softness let him step into the day with a lighter heart. And Alice, with her bright smile, said her short breaks were how she loved herself amid life's rush. Those words aren't just lessons. They're reminders that meditation is an act of kindness to ourselves, a way to slow down, feel deeply, and love life more. So, we walked through 4 main steps in a flexible practice, from sitting quietly in a room to pausing briefly midday. But I want to leave you with this. This journey doesn't end here. Every day is a chance to try something. Maybe 5 minutes of morning meditation, a deep breath when stress hits, or a pause mid-task to feel your breath and say thanks. Every new word, every new habit is like a door opening for our minds and hearts, helping us not just find peace but live vibrantly in each moment. I hope you'll carry the spirit forward, not just today, but in all the days ahead, making every day one worth living. If these stories have touched you, please leave a little note below, maybe your thoughts on this journey or how you've tried meditation in your life. I'd love to read and learn from you all. And if you found these steps helpful, don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe so I can keep sharing more. Life's a long road, and I believe as long as we keep caring for ourselves, opening up to simple things, every day becomes a gift. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you in the next story.